Before we continue any further, if you are happening to watch this video after the fact, please keep in mind that this is a live stream video. Now, normally I tell you it's only going to be the first 10 or 15 minutes of the main topic, but this one might be a little bit different. This one, I do intend to go into quite a bit of detail actually about kind of my YouTube career, my Uber career, and how I am really doing now that I have pretty much left Uber behind in the past, except for making the occasional video like this one. However, with that said, if you happen to like these videos and you want to see, more like them or some of the other stuff I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot of interesting content coming out, not just Uber related. But in this case, I think I kind of need to explain really what's going on in my life. And I was kind of just getting reflective about my current where I am now, where I was in the past. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? And some people kind of look at my channel and the interesting thing is I get mocked a lot. Granted, I have always been mocked. Hey, Paul, welcome from Australia. But people like to talk to me like, you know what, Apptrepreneur, you are a has-been. You're a has-been. Your videos used to get thousands of hits. You used to be one of the top dogs in the rideshare industry. Now you basically are doing topics that nobody wants to know about. I mean, what's the deal with the credit cards and your media channel nobody subscribes to? You know, and here you are, you're still doing it. Other people are still like rideshare professors killing you right now. Like, so are you unhappy? Like, do you consider your life a disappointment? And I get these emails a lot, and granted, they're mostly from trolls. They're not from real fans because the real fans moved on a while ago. But I figured, you know what? It's now been more or less a year since I started to leave the Uber videos behind me in the past where they belong. And a lot of people look at my YouTube views, which are not great. Admittingly, they're not great. I am basically doing YouTube as a hobby now. It used to be my living. It used to be a living, but it's no longer a living. It is now a hobby now. And some people say, "Are you disappointed in this turn of events?" Hey, Teddy, how you doing? And hey, Ryan, welcome. Sit down. This is going to be a fun story. So yeah, people ask, like, when you look at where your YouTube channel is right now, are you disappointed? And the answer is, in terms of the YouTube viewers, of course I'm disappointed. How can you not be disappointed that you used to get hundreds of new subscribers a day and now you're losing like a dozen a day? I mean, that's not a great feeling to have. But in terms of everything else, no, I'm doing very, very well in terms of everything else. And I am making far more money than I did when my channel was at the peak of its success. And I am much happier right now. And the thing is, I think there's a couple types of videos that are out there when it comes to the gig economy, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, whatever. You have videos where people embrace the grind or they try to show you how they're going to make money doing the gig economy, and they share how they do it, and they talk about the tips and the tricks, being their own boss. The other types of video are people who basically gripe about the gig economy, that the gig economy is not paying enough money, that you really struggle in it. And these are the two types of videos. Now, in both scenarios, neither are making that much money. Even with the people who are talking about their tips and tricks, they are normally working 60 to 80 hours a week. That's hardly ideal for someone, I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, you have to get up at a certain time, but like how is this more attractive than, say, a 9 to 5 where you have a steady income, you have a couple guaranteed days off, and you probably even have benefits? I mean, okay, so working the gig economy job, maybe you can get up whenever you want, but to get the money that you need to really make it worthwhile, you got to do some pretty crazy hours, and your life is more or less on hold anyway. But there's a lot of videos that are not discussed about the gig economy. And admittingly, the reason is because I don't think you could make a series of videos on it, which is why we're just going to be doing this one. But that is the people who are successful because they leave Uber, because they say no to DoorDash, because they shave the Lyft mustache. And that's me. That is me. With the exception of YouTube, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about the YouTube numbers at the end of this. I don't know. My life is so much more successful having gotten out of Uber. So, to explain what I'm talking about, let's go back to, I think it's 4 years ago, maybe 4.5. It's been a while, where I was like, I had just lost a job at Disney. Now, the reasons for why I lost this job are convoluted and a little insulting, to be perfectly honest. Basically, I was a bartender at Disney, and one of the things you're supposed to do as a bartender at Disney, you ask to check someone's ID every single time. Well, I always checked ID. One guy came through, and I checked his ID. He looked young, but I checked his ID. The ID said he was 25, so it's like, oh, okay, he's 25. Very busy day, so things were going really hectic and fast. Well, apparently, security guard was suspicious of that kid, followed the kid later on, and asked to see his ID. Now, the security guard had a little bit more time to be thorough about this than I did, and the security guard found that the ID was fake. It was a fake ID. They get made all the time. Well, I mean, that was an honest mistake. I mean, it was busy, and I had really never seen a fake ID before, so that it just happened. But the problem was because I served an underage minor alcohol, even though he had a fake ID and clearly was going out of his way to try to fool us. Basically, that's why I lost my job at Disney. And I was extremely bitter about it at first, very, very frustrated, to be honest. And yeah, I don't think I've ever been able to get a job back at Disney because of that incident. Yeah, it was an honest mistake, but in Disney's eyes, you make a mistake that could potentially get them sued, you're gone. And I had a okay savings when I was let go from Disney. Not a great savings, but an okay savings. But I went through that pretty fast. And that was when I started getting into debt. That was when, I let a couple credit card accounts go delinquent. It was not a good time, and I was borrowing money from my parents, just crazy stuff like that all the time. And it was scary. Actually, I think this was more than 4.5 years ago because I was unemployed for a good solid year or so before um, I moved on to Uber. Now I tried to supplement my income by selling stuff on Amazon because I had no unemployment money coming in. I was fired for cause, and I was just selling stuff on Amazon and doing the best I could there. But Amazon was definitely not a seller friendly place. I mean, because people were determined to get free stuff. Like, here's the thing that people don't understand about Amazon, at least Amazon customers, I should say. Amazon customers are not very different from Uber drivers. Never underestimate their determination to be cheap. And I sold like collectible games and movies and stuff like that. But I was dealing with a lot of kids, and all the customer had to do was file an A to Z claim, say, "Oh, I didn't get it," even if the tracking number showed that it was received, and Amazon would give them back their money, and they would give me a to Z claim straight. And so I got suspended from Amazon so many times. It's one of the main reasons I don't like them because here's the thing: if you're a customer of Amazon, they're great, but if you have to deal with them in any capacity where you're making money, they are the worst business part in the world. In fact, they are very abusive. And so it was working for a while, but again, it was just very difficult to make ends meet. And then one day I see an email that said, "Hey, drive for Uber, make money on your own time with your own car." And I was so desperate, I said, "Sure, I'll give that a try." I signed up through it without a referral link, which of course That showed how new I was, because that's a very, very rookie mistake. Even in this day and age, I always say, like, if you're going to do it, the only thing that makes it worth doing is if you do it through referral link and you get your bonus. Although I think the bonuses nowadays, not even that's worth doing. So sign up for Uber, and I started driving. And I remember the first trip I took, picked up a lady that was about a couple miles away from the house, and she just wanted to go to a couple grocery stores that were nearby and go home. I think overall the trip took 20 minutes. And lo and behold, I was greeted with an $18.25 fare, which was like, really? For that? And I kept driving. And I drove for a few hours, and after a few hours, I made almost $200. I mean, that was crazy. I didn't make that kind of money at Disney. So I kept driving. Now, after the first couple of weeks, I was driving a lot, and it's like I'm spending a lot of money on gas at this point. And that's when I decide to go onto YouTube and see, is there a way we can be doing this smarter? Because when I do things, I like to figure out how I can work smarter, not harder. That's where I discovered the videos of Uberman and Drive Girl Drive. And I started taking tips. I started realizing that you could maximize the surge. And for a while, I had a new schedule. My new schedule involved um, driving primarily on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and sometimes Sunday evenings, like the weekend. You drive during the surge hours, like between 10 to 3 a.m. And I was making a few $100s a night. I was making almost $1,000 a week by working 12 hours a week. Like, this was a no-brainer. This was absolutely incredible. And I was enjoying it. And I even remember at one point saying to myself, I really love this job. I would love to do this for the rest of my life, which obviously, spoiler alert, that didn't happen. But, I was really enjoying myself. And I think around this time, my last stealth Amazon account got shut down, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to deal with Amazon anymore. I'm not going to deal with the corporate world, the working the 9 to 5. I'm just going to drive Uber. I'm my own boss. I can only have to do it 3 days a week. And then at one point, just to make a little extra money, I even started waking up very early in the weekdays, because I realized, the airport times, like between like the 4:30 a.m. to the 7 a.m., like this was just as equally lucrative. So, you know, I ended up working probably an average of 20 hours a week on Uber, but the money was really good. The money was really good. And heck, I was so nice that people even gave me cash tips. And then I started expanding to other things. I started expanding to Lyft, and I expanded to DoorDash, and then I heard about Uber Eats. And Uber Eats, in some ways, is another thing that changed my life on this channel. Why? Because, well, actually, I missed a step. So I was doing, well, no, I didn't miss a step. I'm sorry, folks. Because Uber Eats, when they sent me an email and said, hey, do you want to join Uber Eats? I looked at it, and one of the things I noticed that there was no tips. Well, at this point, I have been driving for DoorDash for a little while. I've been driving for Postmates for a little while. They tip. Why on earth am I going to go to Uber Eats when there's no tip? Why am I going to do that? So I made a video and I uploaded it. And the video upload was basically, why would you want to drive for Uber Eats if they don't tip? And that was my argument. Video is still one of my top viewed videos today, even though it obviously is outdated. Now, I actually realized I did skip a step here. Before I made that one, I made a couple videos about DoorDash, because DoorDash deactivated me unfairly, in my opinion. And I put a couple of those on my other channel, which is now known as The Failed Journalist. And those videos blew up, like, quite a bit. But they didn't fit in with pop culture or comics or anything I was doing on that channel at the time. So I created this channel and was thinking of a name, and kind of decided, you know what? I'm an entrepreneur, and I mainly make my money through apps. Uber, DoorDash, eBay. So I'm going to call myself the Apptrepreneur. Kind of give people advice on how to make money through app-based programs. And then I posted that Uber Eats video and it blew up. And then I did a couple more, and before you knew it, they just really caught on. I think I was just at the right place at the right time where people, it was like new, it was sexy, it was fun, and people just wanted to get more advice. They wanted other people's advice because it's like there was no manual to this. This hadn't been around for a decade at that point. It was fairly new. Nobody really knew how this worked or what the lies were like. And so that's when my channel became big. That's when you started seeing a lot of people come onto the scene. That's when you saw you see Drive Girl Drive, who I think had actually been there a little bit earlier. That's when you saw your driver Mike. That's when Uber Hints came around. That's when Rideshare Evolution came around. No limitation rideshare. That's where Trent's channel. I forgot what his channel's name was, but he was there too. So we started coming out, and what was kind of neat about it early on was that everyone had different voices, they had different opinions, and oh, Dave the Uber Slave. How could I forget Dave the Uber Slave? So, this was just a fun time. And one of the reasons that I think I really caught on, I don't think it was because I was the best at making videos. In fact, my videos are kind of tame compared to some of these other videos, but I had the time to upload every day. And because Uber was so mired in controversy, there was never a shortage of things to talk about. Once in a while, I would do a skit or two, and I have to admit, those videos did very good. Probably much better. I should have probably focused on skits early on, but it was just harder to edit. But I could upload every day. And so I kind of became the CNN of Uber, if you will. Like if there was a story, I was on top of it. Sometimes I was on top of it minutes after it went up. And then the views kept climbing, the subscribers started climbing, the Google payouts got much, much better, sometimes going as high as $7,000 to $8,000 a month. It was absolutely insane. And the funny thing, I didn't even plan to stop driving for Uber that much. I planned to keep doing Uber as well as this. But as you all know, the rates started going down. Now, the first couple I didn't pay too much mind to. The money was still good, but it kept dropping every 4 months, it seemed. And soon I started noticing that because I keep a spreadsheet. I should mention I write everything down. I keep a spreadsheet, and I started realizing the profits were starting to get thinner. They were still there, but they were getting thinner. And I also knew that there was a kind of an unseen expense to this, primarily in the car. The car was getting a lot of miles put on it, and I had budgeted a portion of each trip to go into a car fund. But because the fares were going down, at some point, if I was to keep making money, I'd have to cut out one of the expenses in the fare. And that started becoming the car fund. But the thing is, the car was taking the biggest beating. Not only that, the gas prices were going up. So the gas budget started getting bigger. And then at some point, I don't know exactly when it was, I stopped doing it during the weekdays. I only did it on weekends. Then I stopped doing it on weekends. I only did it on holidays. I think the last year I did Uber, I only did it 2 days that year. I did it for Halloween and I did it for New Year's. Hey, Mohammed, welcome. Interesting you should mention eBay. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then at one point, I kind of said I was done. The I don't know exactly what the catalyst was, but I remember one New Year's Eve, I made pretty good money. I did. It wasn't nearly as much as it was in New Year's Eve's past, but I did make good money. Interestingly, that was like also the year that my reputation kind of took a hit because I admitted that I had thought about doing something. Well, I did a couple things unethical that night. I took extra people in the car, which I shouldn't have done. And when they stiffed me a promised tip for making an exception for them, they didn't do it. And when I drove away and realized that someone had left their medicine in there, I half thought about not returning it, waiting for forcing them to use the item return feature. Now, of course, I thought better, brought it back, didn't actually do anything wrong in that circumstance, but it was enough for my haters to make some videos about me and bring up some older things that I had done when I was younger and when I was stupid. And I think that was the time when I realized that maybe actually doing rideshare wasn't actually fun anymore. So you know what? It's like, you know what? I'm just not getting drive anymore at this point. It's only worth it one day a year now. But you know what's still lucrative is talking about the news. So I kept talking about the Uber news for a while, a lot longer actually. And keep in mind, I've got a pretty good relationship with most of the people on YouTube. It was just a couple people that didn't like me very much, and I've actually since buried those hatchets, so it doesn't even matter. But I kept doing it on YouTube, the stories. Like YouTube was still making a lot of money, but I wasn't doing Uber anymore. And the thing is, had things not changed substantially, maybe I would still be doing what I was doing a couple of years ago. But things did change, as most things do. You see, one of the videos I remember making early on, and it's still one of my top viewed videos, was a video about how Uber could only retain 4% of their drivers. Everyone else left. Now, that video did very well for me, and I made a lot of money on that video. However, I should have realized at that moment in time that that was probably an early warning that I should have heeded. Because if Uber was only retaining 4% of their drivers, what were the chances of those drivers watching channels like mine long term? I mean, people watch videos on topics that interest them. Like, I know people who every day watch these super liberal channels basically worrying about Trump and watching all of these Trump bash fest channels almost 24 hours a day. And likewise, I knew friends who also watch YouTube channels almost 24 hours a day that praised Trump. Now Trump is out of office, and well, admittingly, the conservatives have found channels that constantly bash Biden all the time. But you know, the people who watched the videos out of fear for Trump, they don't watch the Biden videos. They seem pretty content right now. And so that was like so some channels they had like a really strong business model for 4 years. And the president changes, and all of a sudden the politics videos aren't as exciting as they used to be anymore. That is what I should have realized was going on with the Uber videos. I mean, it was new, and a lot of drivers were searching for Uber videos, and here I am, as well as many other channels, and they're watching these videos. The problem is, once they stop driving for Uber, what incentive do they have to keep watching Uber videos? I mean, maybe they'll keep up with some of the strike stuff for a little while, but eventually they're going to move on. And, you know, that's just the way things are. And the thing was, I think in terms of my YouTube channel, I made a mistake in that I held on to this topic longer than I should have. When my channel was like booming hot, I should have been doing other topics to begin with to let people know that I was more than just an Uber guy, but I didn't do that. And because I didn't do that, now my YouTube channel is where it is right now. But again, um, that's not necessarily the main topic of this. So it's going to be a little bit of irony at the end when we get to the punchline, but you know, so I'm still reporting on Uber, but the numbers are dwindling and the money is going down. And I realize like this channel's in trouble. And I also realize that after basically not having a real job for over 3 years, I have to get a real job again. Now, here's the thing. You know how I said earlier in the video that after I drove for Uber for a couple of weeks, I said to myself, I I love what I do and I can't imagine doing anything else. Well, interestingly, even though I didn't do that anymore, and even though I think back and it's like, had the rates never changed, I probably never would have stopped. But I also felt that way about YouTube. Like I loved making videos. I still love making videos. I love talking to people. I loved getting the emails. I loved meeting people who recognized me in the streets. And when YouTube basically stopped being a livable thing, I actually remember crying one night, like thinking like I just love YouTube so much. I wish I could do it forever. And it got to a point where I realized I couldn't do it forever. I mean, maybe one day it'll bounce back. You never know. But as it is right now, I can't do YouTube unless I acknowledge it's a hobby. It brings in some money, but nowhere near what it used to. And I thought, how should I put this? I really thought that my life was going to be over, that I had to go back to the working world. I really did. I was just so worried about that and I was essentially giving up this thing that I really love to do. But that's not exactly how things turned out. I mean, it is true that there was some bitterness at the falling numbers, and of course, I if you look back at some of those old videos I made, I had like a bunch of regulars who, who would say things like, "Whatever you do, I will be here to watch," who ended up not watching anymore. That always kind of hurts. But I got a job that started early enough that I still had most of the afternoon to myself. What's more, the job actually allows me to stay home and work, which is great because one of the things that I absolutely hate doing is I hate doing remote work. What's more, now that I'm at home, I started having a budget again. And I decided, I don't know why you take that personally, Lisa, but maybe you can explain later. I I realized like I could budget and I could now have some money to save, and I was turned on to the Robinhood app where I could start investing. Like I always invested a little before, but you have to keep in mind before Robinhood came around, all the stock brokerage companies charge like an $8 fee per transaction, regardless how big or how small it was. So you could spend thousands of dollars very, very easily. Oh, well, I said most. At least I said most. Sorry, this is live, folks, for those watching in the future. So I do appreciate that you're still around, by the way, Lisa. But I started putting more money into Robinhood. And, that for the first time I had like a portfolio that was starting to get very substantial. And then I wanted to put more money into the stock market. So I started looking in my closet. And the thing is, I've been made fun of by people for being a nerd. It's pretty obvious that I'm a little bit of a nerd. I mean, you see me wear the Sonic shirts, you saw the TV in the background, you see the posters, you see, Goku and Sonic and Anna and Elsa back there. And I think if you move to there's Mickey Mouse. There's Mickey Mouse. I'm a nerd. What can I say? And I was made fun of it, even on YouTube. It's not that different from real life. People who knows you're a nerd, they make fun of you. But here's the thing: nerds, the stuff that nerds buy ends up being valuable. Like seriously, you buy a game, a Mega Man 8 for Sega Saturn when you're a kid, and years later, you still have it, you haven't played it for a while, so you decide, hey, what the heck, I'm going to put it on eBay, and you find out the game is worth $800. It pays to be a nerd. It really does. You don't see people selling the baseballs they caught on eBay for that much money, unless it's a Barry Bonds thing, but So, I started selling the stuff on eBay, and now I I was starting to make more and more money. Like all of a sudden, I was making a couple $2,000 to $3,000 a month on eBay, and I'm taking that money and I am putting it into the stock market. I'm putting it into savings. What's more, my boss at one of my former bosses, who was a very nice guy, at this point sat me down when he found out that I had a pretty lousy credit history. Now, this is probably going to be its own video later on, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about this one. But when he found out that my credit was at like 500 something, he's like, "What on earth had happened?" And I explained the story, and I also explained I only had one credit card, the Capital One card, and basically I was going to be a one credit card person. I'd messed up my credit, and I didn't want to get into that again. And he offered to help me rebuild my credit. And again, don't want to get into too much detail because it's going to be in a separate video. Maybe next Sunday that'll be the topic of the live stream. Who knows? But he started helping me work on repairing the credit. Now I'm repairing the credit. I'm getting better credit cards. Now I'm getting credit cards with rewards on them. I'm starting to realize that, hey, I can just do my everyday spending on the credit cards, pay them off the next day, and I will be getting cash back rewards. Now I'm mixing and matching. I'm actually doing strategy. So now I've got like a booming business on eBay. I've got a steady income at home from my job, and I am getting rewards at the end of the year. I am more successful now than I was ever driving for Uber. And here's where people where I this is actually not this is not like a pity party video. This is a bragging video, if you will. This is the video where I say definitively getting out of Uber is the best decision you will make. It is the absolute best decision you will ever make. I mean, I got out of Uber, moved to YouTube. YouTube started sucking. That encouraged me to go to eBay and Robinhood, and I'm more successful now. Now, of course, and a lot of this is because I got another break with the PlayStation 5s and the Xboxes. I have the ability without bots to buy multiple PlayStation 5s and Xboxes, Series X's. The S's, for the record, do not sell very well on eBay, so I've kind of let them go. But every system I buy, I profit an average of $200 to $300. Keep in mind, I'm using the credit cards with the cashback and points rewards to buy the systems, and I'm selling them on eBay. And at the end of the day, I am making $10,000 a month on eBay. $10,000 a month on eBay. And I've got my regular job, and I'm getting dividends from the stocks. I went from making basically $20,000 to $30,000 a year, and now I am averaging $100,000 a year. And you know what? Why I would not be able to do this if I was doing Uber? Because Uber is still screwing people. They're still screwing people. They are still cutting the rates. I hear it's 32 cents a mile now. By the way, thank you so much, Richard, for the super chat. It's 32 cents a mile. Guys, you can make more money working at McDonald's if you quit Uber. And you know, and you know what? You're still putting a lot of wear and tear on the car. The gas is going up. You cannot, I don't even know how many trips you have to take to even fill up your tank of gas anymore. The Uber credit card, which I will be reviewing in a separate video, which was promised to be something that drivers could use, it sucks. It sucks. It absolutely does not benefit drivers. Does not benefit drivers at all. And here's the thing. I see the strike. I saw that there was a strike last week. I saw it. And while I am not going to poo-poo anyone who went to the strike, I always say fight for what you believe in. If you feel that what Uber is doing is wrong and you need to protest them, you go ahead and protest them. But you know what? I think that time would be better spent finding something else and finding success in other areas. If now Uber did open opportunities. It gave me some stable income at first, and then after the rates are going down because of Uber, I started a YouTube channel and I was able to live off that for a while. And now because the Uber topics on the YouTube channel are not bringing in the views that they used to, and a lot of not all, but a lot of the longtime fans have since moved on because they do not do rideshare anymore. the YouTube channel now started to not bring in money anymore. Therefore, I had to think of other ways to make money, and I did it. But you know what? I now make so much more money, and I'm so much happier. And yeah, I also have Katie in my life that makes things significantly good. Although Katie will tell you there was a little bit of a struggle. Like it was actually this is the funny thing. When I realized that my YouTube channel was basically not livable anymore while I was on my honeymoon. I had filmed some videos in advance. I upload them and I saw the numbers just plummet after, and I don't know exactly what happened. I don't, but they were never quite the same after the honeymoon, and I remember having just a bad day. I was like upset with her, not with her, but I was upset around her because my YouTube channel was dying. I remember calling, I think it was Dark Road Run, who I haven't spoken to recently. I hope he's okay. But I remember talking to him and like just frustrated, and he encouraged me to keep with the channel, that I was good at it. But he did say something along the lines of, but these things happen. YouTube is not a guaranteed success. So in some ways, I can understand the perception that basically I'm a has-been. I used to have a hit YouTube channel. I no longer have a hit YouTube channel. It just, oh, I'm glad to hear he's doing good. I've tried to call him a couple times, but he hasn't picked up. I don't know why. Um, and so from the outside, um, it might look like, things are not going very well for me. But here's the thing, folks. Things are going very well for me. My portfolio, my stock portfolio is up over $16,000 from the same time last year. Um, I It's like I put $1,000 in a Dogecoin one day on a whim, sold it for 14,000. My eBay store brings in an average of $10,000 a month. My wife's Amazon store page, which we have actually been able to keep because Amazon did do the right thing, admittingly, and they have changed the A to Z claim process so that it is much harder for fraudulent people to actually file those claims. That's bringing in a couple $1,000s a month. I do some point apps. I do like Fetch, and I use the GetUpside app, which, by the way, if you don't have the GetUpside app, you can get cash back on gas when you buy it. Totally recommend it, and it can be combined with credit card cashback offers. Something to consider. It's totally free, by the way. So, and yeah, I do have a steady job so that when some of these things have lower weeks than others, they're steady income, and of course, the job provides the benefits. Maybe that job will provide the benefits. So, but the thing is, and I'm going to share one story that I do feel blessed by fans. One fan, and I won't say who it is. You might have an idea though. There was like a little while when when it was like during that transitional period where Uber was cutting the rate so much, my channel had not quite taken off to where I was making the money that I could to live off of it. And there was just a huge expense. And I remember making a video like, should YouTube creators ask for money on Kickstarter or Patreon or something? Well, no, I don't know if Patreon was a thing back there, but basically ask for like a GoFundMe thing. Many people were pretty honest. The answer was no. They felt that they should not do that. And I was just kind of feeling it. But the people felt strong enough about that. I didn't push it any further. It was just a mess that I had to get out of. But this fan saw the video, kind of read between the lines, and reached out. And I think he sent me like a $5,000 money order. And I paid most of it back before he forgave the rest of the loan as a wedding gift. So I definitely appreciated that. But that was kind of a wake up call that YouTube would not be there forever. And now that I was like getting married and everything, it's like, man, I just I need to always have steady work. I don't know exactly why people in the gig economy don't want to go back and get a real job. I mean, I don't want to judge anyway. Some people truly can't. I understand there are some people who are on disability and they they just cannot work a 40-hour week or they can't even get a part-time job. And in all fairness, corporate America is not very friendly to people who can't work. And Uber and Lyft and Postmates exploit this weakness. And they do this because they have to. They absolutely have to. For the most part, though, if you're in average to good health and you know you can get around fairly easily, I see no downside to just getting a regular job now. I just see no downside to it whatsoever. Yeah, you do have to wake up sometimes at crazy hours. Like I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning every day. 4:30 in the morning. That's why you don't see any late night live streams anymore, unless it's on a Saturday. But I think I think having a full-time job is wise, and then you can do things on the side. You can invest more. You can see about selling things. Maybe you can do TaskRabbit part-time. I don't really know much about TaskRabbit to be honest, but since you can kind of set your own rates on that, that seems a lot better than what the other gig companies do. But I there's really only one thing in my life that kind of went down the toilet, and that was the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is not what it used to be. It does not have the viewers it used to have. I appreciate every single one of the 29 people, well, now 30 people who are watching this live stream. I thank you so much for spending time with me. I remember days when that used to be 100 to 200 people. It is a lot smaller than what it once was. So that's always going to be a little disappointing. However, like I said, because the YouTube channel is not doing what it used to do, that encouraged me to step out and do other things where I now make way more money than I do on the YouTube channel. And in a funny way, because now those things are making me more money, I can now approach the YouTube channel and it's like, you know what? Whether people are watching or not, I don't care. It's a hobby now. I'm going to make the videos I want to make, whether people watch them or not. And if the channel gains traction again, great. If it doesn't, hey, it was fun while it lasted. There are very few people who can say, well, who can look another person in the eye and say, at one point in my life, and this was a good few years, I made enough money on YouTube, I didn't need to go to work. That was my job. And by the way, thank you, Ryan, for continuing to be a member. And not a lot of people can say that. I know people who have been making YouTube videos for years, and their highest viewed video is like 3,000 views. And look, I'm not going to knock that. If you can get 3,000 people to watch your video, congratulations. I've kind of learned recently, celebrate the small successes. Don't lament on the big ones that you no longer have or the big ones that you have not achieved. Celebrate every little success you have. When you get 100 subscribers, jump for joy. When you get 500 views, clap and have yourself a celebratory drink if you want. Celebrate the small victories. It makes the big ones mean something more. But I have made videos that got over 200,000 views, and very, very few people can say that. So I'm going to continue doing YouTube for fun. As for what the topics are going to be, I think it's going to be going back to the original idea. I am going to be Crystal, one of my other long time. She has been with me for a very, very long time. And since we're kind of in the celebratory mood, Crystal, Lisa, Ryan, you got repair your PC. Like uh, Joey, I think Joey's here. I think most of the people watching this video have been there for a long time. I thank each and every one of you for still being here. But I kind of brought the channel back to its original goals, like making money with app-based program. And I'm going to introduce the credit cards into this because I'm having a lot of fun with the reward credit cards, and there's legitimate strategies to use with them, and there's also legitimate questions. Like if you are an eBay seller, does the eBay credit card actually help you with your business? Like, what credit cards would help you the most with your eBay business to maximize your rewards on that? What about drop shipping? Should you get into drop shipping for eBay, Amazon, and Mercari? Like, so th these are things I want to talk about. And I think I still have something to say. Whether anyone will be there to listen, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But even if no one's there to listen, I'm doing very well. I'm very successful right now. Like I said, I used to make $20,000 to $30,000 if I was lucky a year doing Uber. Now, this is the first year that my income is going to be over $100,000. It's also the first year I will probably owe Uncle Sam taxes in probably 17 years because you make more money, you got to pay more taxes. So anyway, that is probably going to be where we end this particular video. And I had to make this video. I mean, I want to make it to thank the supporters, obviously, but I also want to make it for the haters who still tweet me on Twitter and send me emails and say your YouTube channel sucks. Did you see this video you did? You got 57 views. You're a washed up has been. You know what? Um, Screw you. I'm fine. I'm very success. I'm very successful. I might actually owe Papa Biden money this year. So that's a joke, by the way. I always say that for whoever's president. It was Papa Trump last year. Now it's Papa Biden. So I'm also considering a podcast. More details to come, but I think it's going to be a very interesting podcast, and we're going to be getting it on other platforms. So you and Geo are good. That's probably a complicated question, but we'll put it this way. I have always said I did not particularly enjoy fighting with him, and if he ever wanted to reach out and talk, I would be willing to talk. And he reached out and wanted to talk. So we have talked. And I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to be buddies or anything like that, but the thing is, I am perfectly fine not fighting. So, um, that whole thing, I didn't really like how that whole thing went down, and it got very complicated why it went down the way it did, but I think we're both in a good place right now in terms of each other. Um, I do think there was something that happened that kind of got us to kind of be not at each other's throat anymore. But because of the nature of what that was and the fact that it was done without anyone wanting to take credit for it, I think to share the story would make people question why it was done in the first place. So we'll just say that we are currently not at odds with one another as far as I am aware. And that and so that's what it is. So anyway, yeah, I'm also gonna be working on that podcast. And now that we can get the stuff on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff, I think that's gonna be very interesting. So I also do want to get back to doing weekly live streams. I do like talking with you guys. I know I kind of rambled this time, but in the future I'd like to do like a a live stream where we can do like a back and forth. You know, maybe even do another episode where people have to call in and we can talk on the phone. Who knows? We could do a heck of a lot of things, but right now, um, that's where I am right now. The YouTube channel is kind of a mixed blessing right now. It's definitely not a success as far as most people would consider it. When you have 15,000 subscribers, almost 16,000, and you're getting an average of 100 views a day, that's probably not successful. But I am doing very well on the side, and I will keep making videos when I feel like it because I can do it for fun now. And here's the thing about most things you do in life that I kind of learned from someone who is far richer than I am. If you do something long enough and you dedicate enough time to it, and you do it with enough passion, eventually you will find some success in what you do. Now, my content might have got a little stale, and I think that contributed, but I will keep up doing the YouTube, and I will do it as consistently as I can because I enjoy doing it, and I think I'm okay at it. And if success follows, that would be great. And if it doesn't, oh well. I had a little moment in the spotlight there, if you will. But anyway, folks, that's where we are going to end this. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the thumbs up, all 12 of them, and the people who stuck it out, all 28. And we will do this again soon. Hold on, Kevin, do you ever communicate with Drive Girl Drive anymore? I can still answer that. Not really, but we didn't have a falling out or anything. But she's just busy, and I don't think YouTube is in her future. She did YouTube and moved on to something else, something that is probably a lot more fun than YouTube, I will admit. And that's where her real passion is, and I wish her all the success. But I do she will definitely be very successful at what in her new venture. I believe she will. And so I still call her during at Christmas though, because I actually have this tradition. On Christmas Day, I like to call friends and talk to them for a few minutes on the phone. And she's one of the people that I call, and she picked up the last couple times, so that's that's positive. But I think she just found other things to do her with her time, and I think things that she really likes to do. So you know, I can totally understand that. I mean, like if someone came tomorrow and said, hey, you know what? If you drop everything what you're doing right now, you can become the film critic for the Chicago Sun Times. Heck yeah, I would drop everything I was doing in a heartbeat minute. I'd see if I could work remotely, but I would like to, you know, write for the newspapers or the online publications. I do have a couple online writing gigs. I don't pay a living wage though. But at the same time, that's another positive thing that came out because I'm not working on the YouTube videos as much. I'm also getting back to writing reviews and articles, and a couple of websites do carry me now. I'm not going to say what they are just because I think there should be some separation of YouTube and what you do. Hopefully you'll understand that. But yeah, so anyway, yeah. All right, folks. It's been 52 minutes and it is 7:37. I've got to start winding down because I got to be up at 4:30 for my my real job. The job that is a catalyst for everything else that I do. But anyway, thank you all for joining. The time has gone by fast, Paul, and we will do this again some other time. So, you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. I'm reaching over just so I can turn this